Everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Srikant Gurukul. Here we are with a new video with vision as July month current affairs. Particularly in this video, we shall discuss few topics of polity and governance section. In the upcoming videos, we shall discuss the rest topics of July month current affairs. Kindly like, share, and subscribe our channel for more such videos. Let's start with the first topic, that is cooperatives. First of all, let's see what is cooperatives, and here is the definition of cooperatives. It is a voluntary association of individuals having common needs who join hands for the achievement of the common economic interest. That means the society must be a voluntary association of people and they should have a common economic interest. What is the aim or objective of the cooperative? It is to provide support to its members with focus on the interest of the poorer sections of society through the principle of self-help and mutual help. And what is the modus operandi of the cooperatives? What is the modus operandi? Through formation of the cooperatives, people came forward as a group, pool their individual resources, utilize them in the best possible manner and derive some common benefit out of it. In cooperative society, the people can enter as per their wish. They also can free to leave the cooperative society, but they cannot transfer their shares. Then what is the relevance of the cooperatives in today's scenario? There are more than 12% of the world's population is associated with the cooperatives through more than 30 lakh cooperatives, and the joint cooperative company of the world, that is the fifth largest economic unit. And there are also so many types of cooperatives working in India, such as cooperative consumers cooperative societies, producer cooperative societies, cooperative credit societies, cooperative farming societies, housing cooperative society, marketing cooperative societies. And three cooperative societies, that is Amul, IFCO and CRIBCO, are among the 300 largest cooperative societies of the world. Now let's see why this is in news. Recently, our Union Home and Corporation Minister attended the celebration organized on the occasion of the 100th International Day of Cooperatives, that was held in New Delhi, and the celebration were organized by the Ministry of Cooperation and the National Cooperative Union of India, NCUI. It is a apex organization representing the entire cooperative movement in the country. It was established in 1929 as All India Cooperative Institute Association and was recognized in 1961. And the main theme of the event was building a self-reliant India and a better world through cooperatives. Okay. Now, what are the constitution and legal constitution and legal provisions of on cooperatives in India? There are the cooperatives that fall in the state list of the 7th schedule, and 7th schedule includes the separation of power between state and center, and the formation of the cooperatives is a fundamental right under the Article 19(1)(c). And Article 19, what is Article 19(1)(c)? It is that it states that all citizens have the right to form associations or unions or cooperative societies. And it also promotion of the cooperative is also a constitutional directive to the state mentioned under the DPSP, that is in Article 43B of the Constitution. And the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002, that provides for the registration of the societies with the operation in more than one state. And here are some principles of cooperatives. What are the principles? It is autonomy and independence, and it is a voluntary association, and it is open membership, that the people are free to join the cooperative. Concerns for the community because they have some common economic interest, cooperation among the cooperatives, and education, training and information, democratic member control, members economic participations. Then let's see what are the challenges faced by the cooperatives in India. First challenge, that is a lack of democratic spirit. With a huge government interference and politicization in the society, the cooperatives lack with democratic spirit, which result in internal conflict and rivalries and lack of interest by the common member. And then regional imbalance in growth, how the cooperatives in northeastern areas and in areas like West Bengal, Bihar and Odisha are not as well as developed states in developed states like Maharashtra and Gujarat. And absence of economic scale, this means most of the cooperatives are confined to a few members and their operations extend to only one or two villages or only one or two or three families, within only two or three families. As a result of this, their resources remain limited and their functions also limited. Inadequate human resources, there is a shortage of skill workforce and it leads to the efficiency of the cooperatives and it resulted into a lack of the most of the cooperatives resulted into a lack of professionalism. And there is also a specific challenges there are some specific challenges in cooperative banks also, which are there to funded the cooperatives, but there are also some challenges. That is first challenge, that is dual registration regulations, because the cooperative banks were regulated by both the state registers of societies and the Reserve Bank of India, which resulted in lack of accountability and their balance sheet are sinking nowadays. Many of the cooperative banks have higher non-performing assets than commercial banks, and there are also governance issue, lack of the modern banking practices, lack of corporate governance standards, political influence. So these are some governance issue in cooperative banks. And recent example, the poor governance resulted in failure of the Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, PMC. And now let's see what are the benefits that cooperatives bring to the societies. Here are some benefits given that the cooperative bring to the society. First benefit, that is building local expertise and profits. It generates employment, it fosters the gender equality, it helps in building social cohesion, it helps in reducing poverty and inequality, it provides affordable finance and the equal voting rights, which promotes the democratic spirit, and the shared responsibility promotes leadership, and it also promotes the philosophy of the mutual help. What are the steps that is taken to strengthen the cooperatives movement in India? There was a Ministry of Cooperation that was established to provide separate administrative, legal and policy framework for strengthening the cooperative movement, and the Banking Regulation Amendment Act 2020, which gives the RBI powers to supersede the boards of the cooperative banks and allows the cooperative banks to raise money via public issue and private placement of equity or preference shares as per the Banking Regulation Amendment Act 2020. The National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation, NAFED, that is to assist the marketing cooperatives in the state to develop their marketing business and to help them render better services to their members. And the National Cooperative Development Corporation, NCDC, it was set up in 1963. It provides assistance to schemes for marketing, processing, storage and practicing in a share of capital of cooperative sugar, cooperative spinning, weaving mills in the form of loans and subsidies, and the most important is annulment of 97th Constitutional Amendment Act 2011 by the Supreme Court. That is the act amended that the Article 19(1) to give the protection of the cooperative and inserted the Article 43B and Part 9B relating to to cooperative. The court declared that Part 9B of the Constitution is operative only insofar as it concerns multi-state cooperative societies, both within the various state and in the union territories. And the Part 9B of the Constitution detected the terms and conditions for running a cooperative societies. What are the way ahead? That is to strengthen cooperative movement a success story. The first promote the democratic spirit within the cooperative societies, and secondly promote the multi-purpose societies, and the digitization to promote the digitization process, especially in governance, banking and business, can ensure a transparent, accountable and efficient system. And most important, that is the skilled employees in order to bring efficiency and professionalism within the societies. Let's switch to the next topic, that is right to be forgotten. What is this right to be forgotten? Here is the definition. That is, it is the right to have publicly available personal information removed from the internet search, databases, websites or any other public platforms once the personal information in question is no longer necessary. Okay, this is called right to be forgotten. And why this is in news? Because Supreme Court directed its registry to remove details of a couple from search engines and internet. The petitioner contended that her name in the public domain causes embarrassment, social stigma and infringes her privacy. She had raised that the right to be forgotten and right to be erased being a rights of privacy, and this directions of Supreme Court expands the ambit of right to privacy and right to be forgotten. Now let's see the conceptual difference between the right to privacy and right to be forgotten. What is right to privacy? Right to privacy, that is under Article 21. It includes, that is the information that is not public, that is a private information that is not accessible by a third party. Whereas the right to forgotten, that involves, that is removing the information that was publicly known at a certain time. Earlier it was public, but not allowing the third party to access the information anymore in future. And the origin of the right to forgotten concept, that was traces to the right to be oblivion in the French jurisprudence, and however it cannot be absolute right in case of India, and it would be objected to some reasonable restriction. There are so many the right to be forgotten. The right to be forgotten, it is a statutory right in the European Union under the General Data Protection Regulation, and has been upheld by a number of courts in United Kingdom and in Europe, and it is implicitly recognized as a right for the first time by the European Union Directive on Data Protection in 1995, and in the Article 17 of the General Data Protection Regulation 2016, it provides right to erasure or the right to be forgotten, which permits a data subject to request a controller to delete personal data concerning him or her without undue delay. In 2015, Russia enacted a law that allows users to force a search engine to remove links to personal information on grounds of irrelevancy, inaccuracy and violation of law. In USA, there is a wide support for right to be forgotten, but it is not supported by any law. And what is the status of right to be forgotten in India? In India, there is no law that specifically provides for right to be forgotten. However, that is the Withdrawn Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 contained provisions related to doctrine of right to be forgotten, but that was not implemented. The bill was withdrawn. Unlike the General Data Protection Regulation, the Personal Data Protection Bill, which was withdrawn, that only provides for the prevention of continuing disclosure of personal data, that is not the permanent deletion of those data. And the digital data in India, which is governed by Information Regulation Rules 21, also does not have any provisions related to the right to be forgotten. And what is the take of Supreme Court on this? In the famous landmark case Puttaswamy versus Union of India case, that is Supreme Court recognized that right to be forgotten as part of the right to life under Article 21. Supreme Court has stated that it is not absolute and it is subject to certain restriction, and it cannot be used if the material in question was required for the exercise of right of freedom of expression and information, fulfillment of responsibilities, execution of duty in public interest or public health, protection of information in public interest, for purpose of scientific or historical study or for statistical purposes, establishment, executing or defending legal claims. And what are the issues with this right to be forgotten concept in India? Data of an individual that is scattered across multiple platforms or clouds, which makes it cumbersome or next to impossible to completely delete all the data as requested by a person. And there is also some implemental issue in India, that is the success rate of the government in curbing and remove the pornographic material that has been absolutely low, and thus the success rate of implementing that right to be forgotten, that is also debatable. And the right to be forgotten concept, the right to be forgotten cannot ensure complete removal of the personal data, as there will always be a probability of data being uploaded again. There will be a fear of re-emergence of those data in public platforms. Freedom of speech and expression, and overly broad right to be forgotten would be necessitate internet monitoring and force web search tools or sites to remove specific material, potentially rewriting history and curbing freedom of speech and expression. And there can be inherent conflict between the right to be forgotten and public interest. And what are the way forward? So the Parliament and Supreme Court should conduct through an examination of the right to be forgotten and devise a balanced method for balancing the competing rights to privacy and the freedom of speech and expression. There should be a balanced way. And data protection, the government should devise a strong data protection policy, that is to prevent the misuse and leakage of the personal data. And discard data, online search tools can modify their principles and destroy information after a specific time frame, thus the balancing right to be forgotten and right to be privacy. And there should be a framework to be developed highlighting the conditions such as protect life of an individual, that is protection from assault, infamy, etc., under which right can be enforced. Balance between right to be forgotten and public interest. The information of the public interest, the right to information of the public should prevail over right to be forgotten. The next topic, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, that is Fcra. Why this is in news? Recently, the central government notified the Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Rules 2022 to reduce the compliance burden on citizens. What is the requirement of this amendment? Because here are some data. That is the impact of data on impact of stronger compliance regime. And there was a, as per the data, decrease in FCRA registered in NGOs after the stronger compliance regime of FCRA. That is from 40,000 NGOs in 2011 to just over 16,000 NGOs in 2022. There is more cancellation, 1,811 registration certificates cancelled from 2019 to 2021. More renewal rejection, 783 renewal application cancelled from 2019 to 21. And what is more on this news? And amending the foreign contribution regulation 2011, now individuals can send up to 10 lakh without informing the government. Okay, if the government exceeds 10 lakh, the individuals will have 3 months to inform the government, which was earlier only 30 days. The individuals can inform the government within 3 months. The entities that can receive these funds, foreign contributions, includes, that is, political parties, legislature members, election candidates, government servants, judges, journalists, media houses, who were all barred earlier from receiving foreign contribution. Now let's see the evolution of the FCRA, how the FCRA evolved till date. In 1969, the Parliament for the first time expressed the concerns over the foreign power interference, and in 1976, the Foreign Contribution Act was enacted during emergency, and in 2010, it was amended to consolidated the law on utilization of foreign funds and prohibit their use for activities detrimental to the national interest. And in 2020, it again amended the FCRA 2010 for tighter control and scrutiny over the receipt and utilization of foreign funds by NGOs. The time limit that is prescribed for intimation to central government for applications obtaining registration or prior permission under FCRA to receive funds has been increased from 15 days to 45 days. Earlier it was only 15 days, now it is 45 days. Also, in a separate notification, the list of compoundable offences under FCRA was increased to 12 from 7. It was earlier 7, now it was increased to 12. What is a compoundable offence? Where the complainant can agree to take back the charges levied against the accused. That is called compoundable offences. Now let's see here the purposes and provisions of the FCRA. So what does the FCRA foreign contribution means? It means the donation, delivery or transfer made by any foreign source of any article, currency or security. It is FCRA. It is implemented by Ministry of Home Affairs, supported by the Intelligence Bureau in approvals and rejection through investigations on antecedents. The government orders can be challenged in High Court also. And the provisions of the FCRA that is given here is post 2020 amendment. It prohibits the receipt of foreign funds by candidates for election, journalists, newspaper, media broadcast companies, public servants, judges, government servants or employee, member of legislature and political parties. But now it is amended in 2022. They can also receive foreign funds. Prior permission to receive foreign funds through registration with mandatory Aadhaar submission of every office bearer of the NGOs. And there should be a designated FCRA account in such branches of State Bank of India, New Delhi to receive funds. No funds other than foreign contribution can be received or deposited in it, and it can be transferred to any other persons or NGO. Validity of the FCRA registration, it is for 5 years its validity, and NGOs are expected to apply for renewal within 6 months of the date of expiry of the registration. And there is a limitations in use of the funds to the purpose for which it was received, with a maximum limit of 20%, earlier it was 50%, to meet administrative expenses. Compulsory filing of annual returns. So in case of contravention, government can restrict usage of unutilized foreign contribution after an inquiry. What are the importance of FCRA in India? The FCRA has a huge role in maintaining the economic growth and development in developing countries like India, and it are often used for socio-cultural activities which creates threat to Indian diversity and internal security. And there is also the political independence. The global ideology organization use foreign contribution to impose their own political ideology. Some NGO also misuse it for political purposes. And there is also sovereignty and friendly foreign relation. It helps in avoiding foreign influence over government decision making and its relations with other countries. Transparency and accountability NGOs. Regulations and necessary compliance under FCRA can help in making NGOs transparent and account in their functioning by identifying the financial irregularities among foreign funded NGOs, ensure intended utilization of the funds. And there are so many concerns over the FCRA. What are they? Due to political or ideological differences through misuse of FCRA, that used as a tool for licensing or rejecting the activities by the government. It also hurt NGOs functioning due to limitations on administrative expenses, because it was reduced to 20%, which was earlier 50% of the contribution, and increased compliant burden. Violation of right to equality, right to privacy, freedom of association and independent functioning through limitations on bank account, that is mandatory Aadhaar submission of every office bearer, prohibitions on transfer system, non-transfer funds to other NGOs, limit collaboration among NGOs. Against democratic values and ethos in India, which has a multiple interest groups with a vital role in NGOs to create awareness among them and protection of their rights. What are the way forward? And the Supreme Court has offered the constitutional validity of FCRA, as receiving foreign donation cannot be an absolute right. So it cannot be an absolute right, and the parliament can regulate it, but it is also a moral obligation on NGOs to follow regulations for accountability purpose. But these regulations should always be used in the context of larger public interest while protecting individual rights through an objective and fully transparent process with searchable database on NGOs, and they should use of technology for easy compliance and reasonable opportunity for individuals or NGOs being heard, decentralizations or delegations of responsibility to have participation from state or local government as recommended by the Second Administrative Reforms Commission, the second ARC. And the next topic, that is a Model Tenancy Act. Why this act is in news now? Because recently the 4 states, that is Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and Assam, revised their tenancy laws to be aligned with the model of Tenancy Act. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs recently approved the Model Tenancy Act in 2021 to streamline the process of renting property in all state and union territories and aid rent economy in state sector. In 2021, Jammu and Kashmir has become the first union territory to adopt the Model Tenancy Act, and since housing it is a part of the state list, and under the 7th schedule of the constitution, it is the center cannot make any law regarding the subject of a state list. So it is only a suggestive framework. It is not binding to all the states to follow while regulating the rental house and agreement. So it is only a suggestive framework, and it is recently the Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Assam revised their tenancy laws in line with the Model Tenancy Act. It replaces the existing tenancy provisions for more than 70 years old, that is the East Punjab Urban Rent Restriction Act 1949, and as per the census 2011, nearly 1.1 crore houses were lying vacant in the country, and making these houses available on the rent will complement the vision of housing for all by 2022. And there are some key highlights of the Model Tenancy Act 2021, and it is its applicability. It is applicable to it will cover, that is let out for premises let out for residential, commercial or educational use, but not for industrial use, and it is also won't cover hotels, lodging houses or inns, so not for industrial use. What will be the tenancy agreement? All premises that may be residential or commercial shall have rented only after written agreement on mutually agreed terms and informed to be proposed rent authority within 2 months from the date of tenancy agreement. So there must be a written tenancy agreement. And what will how much will be the tenancy period? Tenant may request the landlord for renewal or extension of a tenancy period. If tenant fails to vacate premises at the end of the tenancy or termination of the tenancy by an order, he will be liable to pay twice the month rent for the first 2 months, and 4 times monthly rent, that is subsequently till he occupies premises. That is, after the end of the tenancy, twice the monthly rent for the first 2 months and 4 times monthly rent subsequently till he occupies premises. How much will be the security deposit? It has been capped to be a maximum 2 months rent for residential properties and minimum 6 month rent for non-residential property. And digital platform, it will be set off in local vernacular languages of the state for submitting tenancy agreement and other documents, and it can be only be done with prior consent of landlord, and no structural change can be done by a tenant without the written consent of the landlord. The tenant cannot do any structural changes of the property. There must be a three-tier redressal system. It is a 3-tier quasi-judicial dispute adjustment mechanism comprising the rent authority, rent court and rent tribunal to provide first track resolutions of disputes and reduce burden of tenancy dispute from civil courts. Disposal of the complaint by rent court and rent tribunal, that should be within rent court and rent tribunal, that should be within 60 days. Rent authorities and rent courts will be appointed by district collector with approval of the state government, and state may be establish the rent tribunal in each district after consulting with the jurisdictional high court. Rent tribunal. No civil court that will have jurisdiction over the matters pertaining to provision of the Model Act. Then eviction. To evict a tenant, landlord must apply to the rent authority seeking such eviction. Conditions. What will be the condition? Refusal to pay agreed upon rent, failure to pay rent for more than 2 months, and occupation of part of or whole of the premises without written consent, misuse of premises despite a written notice. And what are the issues with the Model Tenancy Act? So it is the model, it goes into the minute details of a rental agreement, like landlord carry out whitewashing of walls and doors, and tenants responsible for drain cleaning and geyser repair, etc. Such details restricts changes that contracting parties may want to make in a contract based on their specific situation. So it is a minor details of the it gives a model of the rental agreement, and there is also no single institutional framework is here. It does not establish a clear institutional program, bypasses informal renter, and it is beset with the overlapping and confusing process. It is unclear why MTA creates a new process and separate rent authority instead of amending the existing one. There is also a government control, how that is appointment and oversight of rent authority. Court tribunal is left to the district administration instead of concerned urban local body, violating the devolution initiated under the 74th Amendment to the Constitution. There is also lack of equal access. Introduction of a mandatory digital platform in the local vulnerable language. It may facilitate registration, but it is not able to overcome gaps in digital literacy and equitable access to market for tenants, especially in the informal sector. Then there is rental discrimination. It fails to protect the tenants from rental discrimination, commonly experienced by various groups including the bachelors, unmarried couples, non-vegetarians, Dalits, religious minorities, transgender persons, and sexual minorities. And it is also non-binding in nature, because it is not binding on the states, as the land and urban development remain the state subject. It is still a matter of choice for the states in order to repeal the amend their existing acts. Like in the case of RERA, that is a Real Estate Regulation Development Act, the fear is that states may choose not to follow the guidelines, diluting the essence of the Model Act. And because housing is a state subject, it is not binding to the state. And there are some significance of the Model Tenancy Act. What are the significance? It balances the rights of the tenants and landlords in accountable and transparent manner, and it creates a vibrant, sustainable, and inclusive rental housing market for all income groups. And it also boosts private participations in rental housing as a business model for addressing huge housing shortage, and it institutionalizes rental housing by progressively bringing it into legal market. It promotes investment and entrepreneurial opportunity. So these are some significance of the Model Tenancy Act. And what are the other initiatives that are taken by affordable housing? Affordable rental housing complexes. So the Ministry of Housing Urban Affairs has initiated that affordable rental housing complexes for urban migrants or poor as a sub scheme for the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. It seeks fulfill the vision of the Atmanirbhar Bharat. And what is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban? It implemented by the Ministry of Home and Urban Affairs. It addressed the urban housing shortage among the economic weaker section and low income group and middle income group categories, including slum dwellers, by ensuring Pakka House to all eligible urban households by 2022. Global Housing Technology Challenge India, GHTC India. It is also initiated by the Ministry of Home and Urban Affairs to identify and mainstream a basket of innovative construction technology from across the globe for housing construction sector that are sustainable, eco-friendly, and disaster resilient. And what are the way forward of it? and the government must formulate a balanced approach to balance social welfare of tenants and economic interest of the landlords for an inclusive approach, and engaging the private sector into the affordable renting housing through models like build to rent and rent to own. And there is a need for separate mechanism beyond the model necessary that ensure the provision of the safe and good quality of rental units for tenants while ensuring a fair economic return for homeowners. And there must be uniformity, bringing within its MBT the state laws to bring uniformity in the market and keep a check on rising rental prices. Cooperative federalism. So what is this? Land and provisions of housing being state subject, there is a need to foster cooperative federalism and bring in all stakeholders, that is the tenants, owner and state together. And this is it for this session. We shall discuss rest of the topics of the polity and governance section in the next videos. For more updates, kindly subscribe our channel and press the bell icon button for more notification. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Take care.